royal hall of the Aurelian Empire had never been this silent. It was a place made for noise, for power, for pride. Tall pillars of glowing crystal rose toward a ceiling that looked like moving stars. Alien banners floated in the air, each one marking a powerful bloodline. The floor shined like glass. Every step echoed. Thousands had gathered. Lords, generals, princes, war heroes from 100 worlds. All of them were here for one reason. The alien princess. She stood at the center of the hall, calm and unmoving. Her skin glowed faintly blue under the lights. Her eyes were old, older than most empires. She wore no crown. She did not need one. This was a final choosing. For many cycles, the princess had refused every suitor. Strong ones, smart ones, cruel ones, charming ones. She had said no to all. Today was different. The emperor sat on the high throne behind her, his massive form still intense. If she refused again, alliances would break. Wars would begin. Blood would follow. Everyone knew this. A horn sounded. The last suitor stepped forward. He was tall, armored. His species was known for conquest. His chest plate was marked with victories. He knelt low, touching his head to the floor. "I offer my fleet," he said loudly. "I offer my strength. I offer my bloodline." The whole waited. The princess did not answer. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. A wave of whispers spread like fire. Another refusal. The suitor's hands tightened into fists, but he stayed silent. He backed away in shame. Now all eyes returned to the princess. This was it. The emperor leaned forward. "Daughter," he said, his voice heavy, "the empire waits." The princess lifted her head. She did not speak. Instead, she raised one hand. Slowly, deliberately, the whole held its breath. At first, everyone assumed she would point toward another noble, another prince, someone important. She did not. Her finger moved past the front rows, past the decorated seats, past the proud and powerful. It stopped near the far wall, in the shadows, where servants and workers were allowed to stand. Her finger pointed at a human, a silent one. The whole froze. The human stood still. He wore simple work clothing. No armor, no symbols, no rank. His hands were clasped behind his back. His face showed nothing. He did not kneel. He did not bow. He did not move at all. For a moment, no one understood what had happened. Then the noise exploded. This is an insult. A mistake. A human. They are weak. They are nothing. Guards stepped forward, weapons humming to life. The human did not react. The emperor stood up, his voice shaking the hall. "Princess," he said, slowly, carefully, "you point at a servant." The princess lowered her hand. "Yes," she said calmly. The word hit harder than any shout. The guard stopped, confused. The human finally looked up, not at the crowd, not at the emperor. He looked at the princess. His eyes were tired, old in a different way, like someone who had seen the end of things and survived anyway. He said nothing. A noble shouted, "Humans do not belong here." Another yelled, "Kill him before this spreads." The guards took one more step forward. The princess turned her head slightly. "Stop," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. The guards froze mid-step. The emperor stared at her. "Explain," he demanded. The princess walked forward until she stood at the edge of the platform. She looked down at the crowd, at the proud, at the angry. Then she looked back at the human. "He is the only one who did not kneel," she said. The whole went silent again. Confused murmurs followed. The emperor frowned. "That is your reason?" "No," the princess replied. "That is how I noticed him." She turned fully toward the human. When the suitors entered, she continued, "They measured the room. They measured me. They measured what they could take." Her eyes hardened. This human measured nothing. The nobles laughed in disbelief. "Because he has nothing," someone shouted. The princess nodded. "Exactly." The human shifted slightly, uncomfortable. Still silent. The emperor raised a hand. "Human," he said, "step forward." The human hesitated. Then he walked slowly into the light. Now everyone could see him clearly. He was smaller than most aliens. Scarred. Plain. His eyes did not shine with hunger or fear. "What is your name?" the Emperor asked. The human opened his mouth, then closed it. He shook his head once. "He does not speak much," the princess said. "Not unless it matters." Anger rippled through the hall again. "This is madness. The empire will fall." A high noble drew a blade. The guards reacted instantly. The princess's eyes flashed. "Touch him," she said, her voice suddenly sharp. "And I end the bloodline." The blade clattered to the floor. Shock spread like ice. The emperor stared at his daughter, then at the human. "Do you understand what you have done?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she answered. She stepped down from the platform and stood beside the human. For the first time, he looked surprised. "I choose him," she said. The ancient lights in the hall flickered. Far below the palace, old machines, long silent, began to wake, and the empire felt it. The hall did not calm after the princess made her choice. If anything, it grew heavier. Whispers followed the human as he stood beside her. Some were angry, some were afraid, some were full of hate. He felt them like heat on his skin, but he did not react. He never reacted. The guards surrounded them, not to protect him, but to contain him. The emperor raised his hand, and slowly the noise faded. "This ceremony is suspended," the emperor announced, "until this matter is understood." The nobles protested, but the order was final. The princess turned slightly toward the human. "Come with me," she said. He nodded once. They walked through the great doors together. Behind them, the empire argued. The corridor beyond the hall was long and quiet. Soft lights followed their steps. The human walked a half step behind the princess, his head lowered. She noticed. "Walk beside me," she said. He hesitated, then moved closer. "You do not have to," he said quietly. His voice was rough. "Unused." "I know," she replied. They continued in silence. At last, she spoke again. "They know nothing about you." He gave a small shrug. "That is normal." She stopped walking and turned to him. "Why were you in the hall?" "I work here," he said. "Maintenance." "That is not an answer." "It is the only one I have." She studied his face. "You were brought from a human colony." "Yes." "Which one?" He paused. Then, "The broken one." She understood at once. That colony had burned during a border war. The record said no one survived. Yet here he was. "You lost everything," she said. "Yes." "And you stayed silent." "Yes." They reached a small chamber overlooking the city. Tall windows showed endless lights, ships moving like slow stars. The princess dismissed the guards. They hesitated, then obeyed. Now they were alone. "You could have knelt," she said. "You could have begged." "I do not kneel anymore," he answered. "Why?" "Because it never saved anyone." She felt something tighten in her chest. "Tell me your name," she said. He looked away. "Names are heavy. I can carry it." He met her eyes again. "Elias," he said. The name echoed softly in the room. Far below, in the lower levels of the palace, other humans worked. Cleaners, loaders, engineers. They had heard the rumors. A human, chosen. They did not celebrate. They waited. Humans had learned long ago not to hope too quickly. Elias had been like them. Invisible. He fixed broken lights. Cleaned forgotten holes. Repaired machines no one else wanted to touch. When aliens passed, they did not look at him. That was how he survived. He never spoke unless spoken to. Never stood in the way. Never asked for more. Because asking was dangerous. Back in the chamber, the princess watched him carefully. "You do not fear death," she said. "I fear wasting it," he replied. That answer stayed with her. She turned away and activated a wall display. Images appeared, records of past suitors, strong warriors, brilliant minds, ruthless rulers. All of them wanted something from me, she said. Power, safety, control. She faced him again. "You wanted nothing." Elias frowned slightly. I did not know I was being tested. You always are, she said. A sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Not loud, old, ancient. The lights flickered again. The princess stiffened. That sound has not been heard in centuries. What is it? Elias asked. She did not answer. Instead, deep beneath the palace, ancient systems scanned a human's presence. His blood, his bones, his history. They found something unexpected, something familiar. In the council chamber, nobles gathered in anger. This cannot stand, one shouted. A human will weaken us. He will poison the bloodline. The emperor listened in silence. Then a council scientist rushed in, pale. My emperor, she said, shaking, the old systems are active. The room froze. That is impossible, a noble snapped. They are reacting to the human, the scientist whispered. The emperor's eyes narrowed. Bring him to the council, he ordered. Now! Guards entered the chamber where Elias stood with the princess. The council demands your presence, one said. Elias nodded calmly. The princess stepped forward. He goes with me. The guard hesitated, then stepped aside. As they walked, Elias spoke softly. You can still stop this. She looked at him. Would you walk away? Yes, he said, if it keeps people safe. She smiled sadly. That is why I cannot. They entered the council chamber. Eyes turned toward Elias like blades. Ancient symbols on the walls began to glow. A voice, old and deep, filled the room. Human identified. Everyone froze. The voice continued. Designation, guardian species. Shock rippled through the chamber. Elias felt the floor vibrate beneath his feet. The princess stared at the symbols. Her breath caught. The emperor whispered, Guardian. The voice spoke again. Erased from history, not destroyed. Elias looked up slowly. For the first time, fear touched his face. Because whatever the galaxy had forgotten about humans, it was waking up. The council chamber stayed frozen. No one spoke. The ancient symbols on the walls glowed brighter, pulsing slowly like a living heart. The deep voice faded, leaving silence behind. Elias stood at the center of the room. Human, quiet, unarmed. Every noble stared at him as if he had changed shape. The emperor was the first to move. He rose from his seat, his expression no longer angry, but uncertain. Explain, he said to the council scientists. Now. They checked their devices again and again. Their hands shook. The systems only activate for one reason, one whispered. They were built to respond to protectors. The emperor turned his eyes to Elias. You are a protector. Elias shook his head. I'm a worker. Murmurs spread. A lie. A trick. Humans cannot be guardians. The princess stepped forward. He is not lying, she said calmly. He truly believes that. She looked at Elias. You never knew. He swallowed. Knew what? That your kind once stood between the galaxy and extinction. The words landed hard. Elias felt his chest tighten. That is not possible, he said. Humans barely survive. That is because you were broken on purpose, she replied. The council erupted again. This is myth. Ancient fear stories. The princess raised her hand. Silence returned. She turned to the emperor. You ask why I chose him. Yes, the emperor said, because right now, nothing else matters. She nodded once. Then I will tell you. The princess walked slowly around Elias, her voice steady. My species can sense intent, she said. Not thoughts, not lies. Intent. She gestured to the suitor's records floating in the air. Every one of them burned like fire. Desire, hunger, fear of weakness. She stopped in front of Elias. This one was quiet. Elias looked uncomfortable. When he entered the hall, she continued, he did not look at me. He did not look at the throne. Some nobles scoffed. He looked at the exits, she said. The room stilled. He measured danger, the princess said, not opportunity. She leaned closer to Elias. Why? He answered without thinking. Because crowds panic. Her eyes softened. I felt no hunger in him, she said to the council. No ambition. No wish to rule. A noble sneered. Then he is useless. No, the princess replied sharply. Then he is safe. She turned to Elias. Why did you survive your colony? The question surprised him. I should not have, he said slowly. I hid. I carried people who could not run. I stayed behind. Why? Someone had to. The room listened despite itself. When the ships left, Elias continued, I stayed with the wounded. When help did not come, I buried them. His voice did not shake. I did not fight, he said. I endured. The ancient symbols pulsed brighter. The scientists gasped. The systems are responding to emotional memory. The emperor frowned. To pain? No, one replied. To restraint. The princess closed her eyes briefly. This is why, she said softly. A council general slammed his fist down. Enough. If humans were guardians, where were they during the last wars? The princess opened her eyes again. They were erased, she said. The room stiffened. Long ago, she continued, the guardians learned that power made the galaxy fear them, so others turned against them. She looked at Elias. Your kind chose silence instead of domination. Elias shook his head. We chose survival. And restraint, she corrected. She faced the council again. You destroyed their history. You broke their worlds. And still, they did not return in anger. The general laughed harshly. Then they were weak. The princess turned slowly toward him. No, she said. They were patient. The word felt heavy. The emperor raised a hand. If what you say is true, he said, then the bond you propose is dangerous. Yes, she agreed. And necessary. Yes. Elias finally spoke louder. Stop. Everyone turned to him. I did not ask for this, he said. I do not want to be a symbol. The princess looked at him gently. I know. I will leave, he continued. End this before it grows. She stepped closer. If you leave, they will still hunt your kind. Elias clenched his jaw. You think I chose you for romance? She asked quietly. He hesitated. No, she said. I chose you because you would walk away if it kept others alive. The room felt colder. You do not burn, she said. You anchor. The ancient voice returned, softer now. Bond compatibility, confirmed. The council panicked. Shut it down. Disable the system. The lights flickered violently. A scientist screamed, We cannot. It is rewriting protocols. Elias stepped back. Princess. She took his hand. The touch sent a shock through the room. Images exploded across the walls. Humans standing between stars and fire. Human ships holding the line while others escaped. Humans dying quietly so the galaxy could live loudly. Elias staggered. No, he whispered. We forgot. The princess held him steady. You were made to forget, she said. The emperor stared at the images, his voice barely audible. What have we done? The ancient voice spoke one last time. Trial required. The lights went dark, and the floor beneath Elias began to move. The floor stopped moving. Darkness lifted slowly as lights returned, dim and cold. Elias found himself standing inside a wide circular chamber. The walls were smooth metal, covered in ancient marks. No banners. No beauty. This place was old. Older than the empire itself. The princess stood beside him. Above them, the council watched from raised platforms. The emperor sat at the highest seat, his face unreadable. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Trial initiated. Elias felt his heart slow instead of race. The princess leaned closer. These trials judge truth, she said quietly. Not strength alone. He nodded. That is good. She looked at him. It may hurt. That is normal, he replied. The first symbol on the wall lit up red. Trial 1, strength. The floor split open. From below, a massive construct rose. Metal limbs. Heavy armor. Its fists were as large as vehicles. Power rolled from it like heat. Gasps echoed from the council seats. "This is impossible," a noble muttered. "No human can face that." The princess did not move. Elias stepped forward. The construct charged. Fast. Elias ran. Not toward it. Away. The crowd laughed. "Coward," someone shouted. The construct swung. Elias dove, rolling across the floor. The shockwave cracked the ground. He did not try to strike back. He watched, measured. The construct attacked again. Elias moved again. He was slower, smaller, weaker. After minutes, his breathing grew heavy. His arms shook. A blow caught his side and sent him flying. He hit the ground hard. The construct raised its fist. The princess tensed. Then the construct stopped. The symbol turned dark. Trial 1. Failed. The crowd erupted. "Of course. He is nothing." Elias pushed himself up slowly. He did not argue. The princess met his eyes. "I am sorry," she said. He shook his head. "That was never my strength." The second symbol lit up blue. Trial 2. Mind. The chamber shifted. Walls moved. Shapes changed. Pods appeared and vanished. Lights flashed in patterns that made the eyes hurt. "This test breaks even trained minds," a scientist whispered. Elias stood still. Then he closed his eyes. The maze shifted faster. Elias listened. Not with ears, but with memory. He remembered broken corridors, burning stations, panic. He remembered finding paths through chaos. He stepped forward. Left. Pause. Right. Down. The maze tried to confuse him. He did not rush. Minutes passed. Then the lights froze. A clay path formed beneath his feet. Trial 2 passed. The laughter died. The princess let out a breath she did not know she was holding. The emperor leaned forward. "He adapts," he said quietly. The third symbol glowed white. The air grew cold. Trial 3 pain. Elias stiffened. Restraints rose from the floor and locked around his arms and legs. Needles lowered from above, glowing faintly. The princess stepped forward. "Stop," she said. "This is enough." The ancient voice answered. "Pain reveals intent." The needle struck. Pain exploded through Elias's body. His muscles locked. His vision blurred. The council watched closely. Some looked away. The pain increased. Elias gritted his teeth. He did not scream. The machines pushed harder. Memories flooded him. Screams. Fire. Loss. His breath came in short bursts. The princess clenched her fists. "End it." The emperor hesitated. "Wait," a scientist whispered. "The readings." The machine slowed. The pain stopped. Elias sagged in the restraints, shaking. Trial 3 passed. Silence filled the chamber. The restraints released him. He fell to his knees. The princess rushed to his side. "Why didn't you stop it?" she whispered. He answered softly, "Because it would not stop for others." The ancient symbols flared brighter than before. The council grew uneasy. A fourth symbol began to glow. Black. Final trial. Truth. The chamber darkened completely. Images filled the air. Human worlds burning. Alien fleets advancing. Treaties breaking. Then a new image. Humans forming a line between two massive forces. Outnumbered. Outgunned. Elias stayed. Breath caught. "We don't remember this," he whispered. The voice answered. "Memory sealed." The image shifted. A group of alien leaders signed a decree. Erase human history. The princess trembled. The emperor stood slowly. This is treason against existence," he said. The image changed again. Humans choosing silence. Choosing exile. Choosing survival over revenge. Elias felt something break inside him. "We chose to disappear," he said, "so the galaxy could live." The voice spoke once more. Intent confirmed. The final symbol shattered. The lights returned. The council was silent. Not angry. Not proud. Afraid. The emperor looked at Elias. "You were never weak," he said. Elias looked back. "We were tired." Suddenly, alarm screamed. Red lights flashed. A guard shouted. "Enemy fleets detected." They are surrounding the capital. The princess turned sharply. They felt the system's weight, she said. They know. The emperor slammed his hand down. Prepare defenses. Elias pushed himself to his feet, still shaking. The princess grabbed his arm. Elias, she said urgently, if you stay, you will be a target. He looked at the screen showing ships closing in, then at the humans in the lower halls, watching in silence. I have always been a target, he said. Outside the palace, the first enemy ships entered firing range, and the galaxy held its breath. The sky above the capital burned. Enemy ships filled the stars, dark shapes blocking the light. Alarms screamed across the city. Shields rose too late. The first blast struck the outer defense ring. Inside the palace, chaos spread. Enemy confirmed. Multiple fleets. They came too fast. The council chamber shook as explosions echoed in the distance. The emperor stood tall, his voice cutting through the panic. All forces to battle stations. Protect the capital. But many eyes were no longer on the screens. They were on Elias. Some looked at him with fear, others with blame. He caused this, a noble shouted. The systems woke because of him. Elias heard every word. He said nothing. The princess stepped between him and the crowd. They were coming anyway, she said sharply. They always were. Another explosion rocked the chamber. A section of the city's shield flickered. A general turned to the emperor. Our fleets are outnumbered. If they break through, the palace will fall. Silence followed. Then Elias spoke. Where are the civilians? He asked. The question surprised them. In the lower sectors, the general answered. Evacuation is slow. Elias nodded. That is where I will go. The princess grabbed his arm. No, they are hunting you. They hunt humans every day, he replied calmly. She searched his face. You will die. Maybe, he said, but not alone. Before anyone could stop him, Elias turned and ran. He moved through corridors he knew well. Servant pods, maintenance shafts, narrow halls hidden behind walls of gold and crystal. Guards shouted after him, but he disappeared into the lower levels, down where humans lived and worked, down where fear already waited. Explosions shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. People screamed. Elias raised his voice. Move in lines, he shouted. Stay close. Follow the wolves. Humans looked at him in shock. Elias, someone said. What is happening? War, he answered. Same as always. He guided them through smoke-filled halls, lifting the injured, carrying children, breaking doors open when systems failed. Above them, alien forces fought. Below them, humans endured. Back in the palace, the princess watched security feeds. She saw Elias pull a wounded alien child from rubble. Saw him shield others with his body. He does not run, she whispered. The emperor clenched his fists. He should. A scientist looked up from her console. My emperor, human life signs are sinking. What does that mean? They are responding to him, she said, like a network. In the lower sector, Elias stopped. He felt it, a pressure in his chest, a pull. Other humans were gathering around him, old, young, scarred, silent. No one gave orders. No one needed to. They formed lines. They lifted tools, makeshift weapons, medical kits. A woman stepped forward. Elias, she said quietly, what do we do? He thought for a moment. Then, we hold. The ground shook again. Enemy troops breached the lower defenses. Alien flooded into the sector. They expected chaos. They found humans standing still. The first shots fired. Humans moved. Not with rage, with precision. They pulled civilians back, covered exits, created paths, fell back only when needed. Enemy commanders hesitated. These are not soldiers, one said. No, another replied slowly, watching the feeds. They are guardians. In the palace, the emperor stared at the screens. Human groups moved like one body. Calm, focused. They are coordinating without command, he whispered. The princess smiled faintly. They always did. A warning alert blared. Enemy flagship approaching palace orbit. The largest ship yet broke through the shield. Weapons charged. The Emperor turned to the princess. If that ship fires, this ends. She looked at the screen, showing Elias still fighting below. No, she said. It begins. Elias felt a change in the air. The enemy flagship powered its main weapon. He looked up through a cracked ceiling, seeing light build in the sky. This is it, someone whispered. Elias took a breath. Get down, he said. The blast fired, but it did not hit the palace. A human ship, old, forgotten, patched together, rose from a hidden bay beneath the city. It took the blast head on. The ship broke apart, but it held. Every screen went silent. Then a single transmission cut through all channels. A calm human voice. We are back. The enemy fleets hesitated. The princess felt tears rise in her eyes. The emperor stood slowly. So this is what we erase, he said. Down below, Elias collapsed to one knee, exhausted but alive. He looked at the humans around him. They were smiling, for the first time in generations. But the battle was not over. A new alert screamed across the palace. Multiple enemy reinforcements incoming. The princess turned sharply. Elias, she whispered, though he could not hear her. Hold on. Because the galaxy had turned against him, and now it was afraid. The enemy fleets did not retreat. They paused. That pause spread fear faster than any weapon. Across space, ships adjusted formation. Commanders argued. Sensors struggled to understand what they were seeing. Old human ships. Not shining. Not large. Not proud. But moving with purpose. More ships rose from hidden places, under cities, inside asteroids, from dead zones marked unsafe by every map. They were patched, scarred, uneven, yet they formed lines. Perfect lines. Inside the palace, the Emperor stared at the tactical display. These ships, he said slowly, they were never logged. A scientist answered quietly, because they never wanted to be. The princess watched the feed from the lower sectors. Elias was still there, blood on his face, one arm hanging low, still standing, still guiding. Enemy troops pushed deeper into the city. This time, they met resistance that felt different. Humans did not charge. They did not shout. They moved civilians away first. Always first. Then they blocked paths, created traps, closed routes behind them. Alien soldiers fired wildly. Humans waited, then moved. An enemy officer shouted in confusion, "Why won't they break?" Another answered, watching human patterns repeat across sectors. Because they are not here to win. They are here to protect. Elias leaned against a wall, breathing hard. A young human stood beside him, shaking. Elias, I'm scared. He nodded. So am I. The young man looked up, surprised. Then how are you standing? Elias thought for a moment. Because someone else is scared too, he said. And they need us to stay. A distant explosion shook the floor. Elias pushed himself upright again. Move, he said. We still have work. Above the city, space lit up. Human ships did not chase enemies. They placed themselves between worlds, between fleets, between fire and life. Enemy commanders panicked. They are blocking every firing angle. They are sacrificing position. A cold realization spread through the enemy ranks. These humans, they don't retreat. They endure. In the palace, alarms blared again. Enemy flagships powering second strike. The Emperor turned sharply. Our shields won't hold another hit. The princess closed her eyes. She felt it then. A pull. A bond tightening. She gasped. Elias, she whispered. Far below, Elias felt it too. A warmth through the pain. A steady presence beside him, though she was far away. He looked up. I know, he said softly. The ancient systems responded. Across the city, light shifted from red to gold. A message appeared on every screen. Guardian protocol active. The scientists stared in disbelief. It's not a weapon system, one whispered. It's a coordination field. What does it do? The Emperor asked. It connects them, she replied. All of them. Humans felt it instantly. Not words, not commands. Awareness. They knew where help was needed, where danger was coming, when to move, when to hold. Like memory waking up, enemy fire intensified. Humans held. One human ship broke apart under heavy fire. It did not explode. It drifted, still blocking the firing line. Another moved in its place. No hesitation. No cheers. Just duty. Enemy morale cracked. They are dying without anger, one commander said in horror. They are not even trying to be heroes. Elias collapsed again. This time, he did not rise. The young human grabbed him. Elias. Elias tried to speak. Blood filled his mouth. He smiled faintly. Did they get through? He asked. No, the young man said. They didn't. Good, Elias whispered. His eyes closed. In the palace, the princess screamed. She dropped to her knees as the bond surged with pain. Elias, she cried. The emperor rushed forward. What's happening? He's dying, she said, holding too much. The scientists shouted over each other. The bond is stabilizing the field through him. Is acting as the anchor. The emperor froze. If he falls. The field collapses, the scientist finished. The princess stood. No, she said. I will not let him die alone. She turned to the guards. Prepare shuttle. Now. The emperor stared at her. You are the empire. She met his gaze. Then let the empire wait. The enemy fleet sensed a change. They saw the golden lights flicker. Their commanders smiled. Focus fire on the anchor, one ordered. End the human. Weapons charged. Every gun turned toward the lower city. Toward Elias. The princess's shuttle launched, racing downward through fire. The sky burned brighter than ever, and the galaxy prepared to witness one final choice. By a human who never wanted to rule. The shuttle broke through fire and smoke. Enemy weapons tracked it instantly. Warning screamed inside the cockpit, but the princess did not slow down. She stood at the open bay, gripping the rail, eyes locked on the city below. Faster, she said. The pilot did not answer. The engines burned hotter than they were meant to. Elias lay still among broken stone and twisted metal. The golden light around the city flickered weakly now. The Guardian field trembled, unstable. Humans felt it. They did not panic. They tightened their lines. They moved closer together. If this ends, one human whispered, we hold anyway. They always did. Enemy ships power their weapons. One final strike. One ending blow. The shuttle slammed into the lower sector. The ram dropped before it fully stopped. The princess ran. She ignored shouting guards. Ignored falling debris. Ignored pain as she reached Elias and dropped to her knees beside him. His chest barely moved. She touched his face. Elias, she said softly, I am here. His eyes opened slightly. You shouldn't be, he whispered. She smiled through tears. You do not decide that. The ground shook as enemy fire hit nearby. The golden light dimmed further. He cannot carry it alone, a scientist shouted to the princess's communicator. The anchor is failing. The princess pressed her forehead to Elias's. Then he will not be alone, she said. She placed her hand over his heart and made her choice. Across the city, ancient systems reacted. Not violently, gently. The Guardian field shifted. Bond confirmed. The golden light surged, stronger than before. Not centered on Elias alone now. Centered on both of them. The princess gasped as pain and memory flooded her. Human worlds burning. Human hands holding lines. Human silence chosen over power. She cried out, but did not pull away. Enemy commanders screamed in shock. The field stabilized. It doubled. No, another whispered. It balanced. Elias felt warmth return. Not strength. Support. He breathed in sharply. Yo, heavy, he murmured. She laughed weakly. So are you. He looked at her, confused. Why? Because, she said, voice steady despite the chaos. You carried the galaxy alone long enough. Enemy weapons fired. Human ships moved. Alien fleets moved too. But something had changed. Alien pilots hesitated. They saw humans shielding alien cities, saw human ships blocking fire meant for others, saw a princess kneeling in rubble beside a human worker. And they understood. This was not conquest. This was protection. The Emperor watched from the palace. His voice was quiet. "Cease fire," he ordered. Some commanders obeyed. Some did not. Those who did not found their weapons blocked. Not destroyed. Blocked. Human ships moved into place, calm and unyielding. The message was clear. Enough. The enemy flagship powered down. One by one, the fleets withdrew. Silence spread across the stars. The battle was over. Medics rushed forward. Elias was lifted carefully. The princess stayed with him. Humans gathered nearby, not cheering, just watching, waiting. "He lived," someone whispered. "Yes," another replied. "Of course he did." Days later, the great hole filled again. But this time, no weapons were drawn. No shouts rose. Elias stood beside the princess. He wore simple clothing. She wore no crown. The emperor stepped forward. "By ancient law," he said, "the guardian bond is recognized." He paused. "And by choice," he continued, "humanity is restored." Gasps echoed through the hole. Elias closed his eyes briefly. Not in pride. In relief. Later, on a quiet balcony overlooking the city, Elias leaned on the rail. "I never wanted this," he said. The princess stood beside him. "Neither did I." "Then why does it feel right?" he asked. She smiled. "Because you never wanted power. You wanted peace." He nodded. Below them, humans and aliens worked together, rebuilding, repairing, quietly. The galaxy had not been saved by fire. It had been saved by restraint, by endurance, by a human who never asked to rule, and a princess who saw him. Final line. The galaxy learned that humans do not seek thrones. They stand in the fire. So others never have to.